So I just got back from the dermatologist, and I wanted to share some of the things that came up for me. I'm feeling a little emotional and um, a little raw with my emotions, and I wanted to share just a little bit about what that experience was for me. So, and maybe this will encourage some people out there, I hope. For those of you who do not know, I was diagnosed with melanoma, skin cancer, in my early 20s. I'm now in my early 40s. And fortunately, the doctors were able to catch it before it had spread. And during that time, however, I had no idea what stage it was in when they first found out that I had melanoma. And that was an experience in my life that was probably the most fearful initially, and through the different practices that I was doing at the time, it also produced the most peace that I've ever had in my entire life. And that's a whole another long story. But since then, having a history of melanoma, I was going in every 6 months to get my skin checked to make sure that nothing looked suspicious. And after being in the clear for, I can't remember how many years, then it turned to annual skin checks. And so I've been going in every year, and over the course of the last 20 some years, about 20 years or so, I've had some various moles, taken off. Some just a little tiny scrape, and some a little bit more invasive with actually plastic surgery. A plastic surgeon actually had to remove some of them. But nothing too crazy, and they always came back negative, which was really great. But I moved to a new state about 7 months ago, and was not scheduled with a new dermatologist out here. So I made the appointment, was able to get in this morning, and she looked over my skin, and there were a couple of things that she found that were a little suspicious. And when that happens, they obviously want to biopsy it on the spot so they can make sure that they test it. So I agreed to that, because I know that's the best way to prevent it, if possible, is to catch it as early as possible. And the first time I had melanoma, it was right here on my chest here. I don't know if you can see the scar. It's very faded now. But one of the spots that she found today that I didn't even notice, it was just a different kind of a reddish spot that she pointed out to me, is right here. And she did, biopsy it. And as she was putting the needle in to numb the skin, I felt a flood of emotions immediately, just taking me back to that original experience. And like I said, I've had other moles removed since then, and I've never had that strong of emotional response. But I think maybe because it was just, so close to the original place, and I also had one removed from Oh, the band-aid's coming off. My lower leg here. But it was this one when she started to inject the needle to numb the area before scraping it. All these emotions came up, and I just let myself feel it and just let the tears come. And she thought it was because I was in pain. I was like, no, I mean, I do feel it. She actually had to give me extra of the numbing drug or whatever, because I'm just a lot more sensitive. And she knew. She's like, you're a redhead, this is very common. But she thought I was crying because it hurt, and I was like, no, I'm just feeling a lot of the emotions from that original time. And it's amazing how experiences in our lives can really touch us in a way that is hard to put into words. And that was definitely a really huge experience that touched me in ways that it is challenging at times to put into words. But I've done a lot of healing work over the years with that experience. But I guess the reason why I decided to create this video and share my personal experience with you guys is because I think it's important for us to realize that some of the experiences that we've had, despite the amount of healing that we've had, sometimes there are still some layers there years later. And I was actually just talking about this with someone that I was doing a session with, because I'm a holistic healer, which my whole healing practice was prompted by my personal experience with cancer. So there's a lot of really great things that came from that experience. But she and I were just talking the other day about how these stress patterns are literally held in the body and in the tissues. And so that was just not only really close to my heart, but also really close to the original injury, so to speak. And I guess one of the takeaways from this message, if this resonates with anybody out there listening, is to really honor what comes up for you in terms of emotions. And rather than trying to rationalize them away, like it would have been so easy for me to be like, well, that was 20 years ago, Laurie, just forget about it, it's fine, and downplay it. But my emotions were so raw, and they came so fast. And I just gave myself a little bit of time in the doctor's office to shed some tears. But when I walked out, I could feel that there was still some heaviness there. And I got home, and I gave myself another 5 or 10 minutes just to feel those emotions, the scariness that I experienced, that feeling of, it was kind of like fear, but it was more like the fear of the lack of control that I felt during that time when I was first diagnosed with melanoma. Because at that time, the doctors didn't know what stage it was in, and they didn't know what that treatment plan was going to look like. And so it was very scary to me. And so I just allowed myself to feel that and cry it out. And I just noticed my breathing change in terms of like feeling more relaxed, like I could breathe again. And not that I couldn't breathe before, but you know what I mean? Like my breathing just changed to, I could just feel my whole body changing to feel more relaxed and at ease with just releasing what came up. So I just want to encourage you guys that you know, if there's stuff that comes up years later, any emotional wounds from your past, I encourage you to really, you know, give yourself the time and space to really allow yourself to feel those, because and express them, like cry it out or do what you need to do to get it up and out of the body. I honestly feel like I could just go to sleep right now. I feel a really, really good amount of relief. And I don't know what the results will be of, you know, this biopsy and the other one on my leg. I should find out within the next couple of weeks. I'm actually, like, when I really sit with myself, at least in this moment, I don't feel, you know, a tremendous amount of fear or anxiety or anything like that. I feel I feel better by releasing whatever was attached to my past, and I know that whatever the results may be, that I have the strength. I have the inner strength to face whatever that might be. And it's a good feeling. Take care, everyone.